It's been 18 years since the California governor faced a recall. Back in 2003, then Democratic Governor Gray Davis, he learned from voters that his tenure had been terminated. Fast forward to today. Current Democrat Gavin Newsom, he will face a recall vote this fall, but Newsom, at least right now, looks like he'll escape the same fate that Davis did. New polling has only 36% of Californians wanting the recall in the column, with nearly half, 49%, saying they'll vote to keep Newsom in office. Newsom's approval rating stands at 52%. Those numbers may speak as much to Newsom's potential replacements on the ballot as it does to his own popularity. I should remind you, Davis had Arnold Schwarzenegger awaiting him on the ballot. Not this time around. Newsom, he's got Caitlyn Jenner, among others. Jenner's campaign rollout interviews have been, and I'll put it politely, panned. In fact, Jenner stuck in single digits in polling. Two candidates tied for the lead with 22%. Former San Diego Mayor Kevin Falconer and businessman John Cox, who lost to Newsom in the 2019 gubernatorial race. So what is going on in the Golden State? For answers, let's bring in Jeremy White. Jeremy, a reporter for Politico covering California politics. He's also co-writer of the California Playbook. If you're Gavin Newsom, you feeling good right about now?
Absolutely. I think we have seen multiple polls now that suggest the governor has a majority approval rating and that a majority of voters would vote to keep him in the recall, which, remember, there's two questions. There's an up or down, keep the governor, and only if a governor can't get a majority there do you then move on to the second question of who should replace them. So the governor looks to be in the driver's seat here, and the more those COVID numbers go down and the economy reopens, you would think the better his prospects look.
Do you attribute that we're even talking recall for those that are not Epicurean folks? They probably never heard of French Laundry before Gavin Newsom made it infamous. Is it COVID handling? Is it just the political fever nationally going on? Why is he being recalled in the first place?
I think it's a little bit of both. Fundamentally, it's all about COVID. I think that there was a fair amount of frustration out there already about sort of the gyrating lockdowns and then sort of pulling back, relocking down. It certainly didn't help the governor that a lot of kids were out of their classrooms for many, many months. And as you said, getting caught dining out with some political supporters at this fancy restaurant certainly didn't help. And I think it's important to remember that not only did the pandemic increase a lot of angst and disillusionment amongst voters, it also prodded a judge to give proponents of this recall a few more months to gather signatures. If they don't have that extended window, this thing doesn't qualify. So the same forces that were fomenting anxiety among voters also sort of gave a political lifeline to this effort.
Jeremy, the situation on the ground in California, and obviously it's a huge state, but you've seen, as other states, you're going to lose a congressional district. But at the same time, they're looking at a $75 billion surplus. It's a mixed bag in California in terms of the near-term and long-term prospects once we get COVID behind us.
That's right. There's no question that California has some serious problems that preceded this pandemic. I would put homelessness and housing costs at the top of that list. But at the same time, as you pointed out, certainly compared to where we were a year ago, the economy is opening up. The budget has an enormous surplus. California has one of the lowest test positivity rates in the country. And so while there remain a lot of enduring problems to be fixed, and it's fair to criticize Governor Newsom or whoever else for some of those things, I do think you are seeing some of those specifically pandemic-related problems begin to recede. And the governor in these events around the state that are not explicitly campaign events, but have the feel of them, is really touting that progress. And rather than engaging with the recall, he artfully sidesteps all of our questions about it and says he's focused on reopening the state, sending these tax rebates to Californians thanks to this overflowing budget. So he is really stressing the good news, and clearly he believes that that will be enough to propel him to victory rather than sort of throwing elbows with the many Republicans vying to replace him.
You know, Jeremy, I started this hour talking about, well, the GOP reckoning that's going on in real time. Liz Cheney being the principal, but Kevin McCarthy playing another starring role. I'm curious in California, not just in district, but for the California delegation, is he have some problem on his hands here, or is he bulletproof back home?
I think in terms of his political prospects, Kevin McCarthy is fine. He is still in a very conservative district, and there are plenty of voters who support him and support former President Trump in his district, which is anchored in the more conservative Bakersfield area. There is no doubt that there are many California Democrats who would love to see Kevin McCarthy out of office. It's no secret that he has ambitions to someday be Speaker of the House. California Democrats would love to deny him that ability by ensuring that Republicans remain in the minority. But I think it's important to remember that as overwhelmingly liberal as much of California is, Devin Nunes is still in office and probably not going anywhere anytime soon. You could say the same for Kevin McCarthy. And millions of people here voted for Donald Trump in 2020. So while statewide Democrats are very much in control, California Republicans still maintain some clout and some numbers here.
Hey, Jeremy, good stuff. I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.